What's up everybody, and thank you for joining me for another video. My name is Whack4863, but you can call me Whack. I wanted to put together the ultimate Shinobi Assassin build in Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I think I've done it. I'll take you through all the steps in this video. So first off, I want to go over the gear and why I'm using this particular gear. Each and every one of these is legendary, and you can get this early on in your gameplay. So this is the ultimate early game Shinobi Assassin build. So we're utilizing a legendary Kusarigama as our primary weapon. This is the Death Whisper. Our secondary weapon is the legendary Tanto, the Shinobi's Fury. Now both of these weapons come from the storyline, and you'll need to follow two different paths in order to get both of these weapons. I'm not going to follow those paths in this video so that it can remain spoiler free. However, I will tell you which paths to follow so that you can get both of these weapons. Now, you could technically use a different primary weapon like a katana. I personally have not found any legendary katanas yet, so that's why I chose this weapon. The Tanto is a must-have if you want to do dual assassination. So if you want to assassinate two targets at the same time, you have to have a Tanto equipped. I chose to go with the Peasant Hat. Again, it is legendary, and for this hat specifically, I have an engraving for an additional health segment to be removed when I use an air assassination. And the Peasant Hat gives us 100% of an adrenaline chunk when we enter combat, and that means that we can use one of our abilities right when we enter combat every single time. With this build and this setup, if you follow the masteries that I have as well, you will be able to assassinate targets with 4 health chunks. Once they have 5 health chunks, you will not be able to assassinate them until you upgrade and get better gear. For our armor, we chose the Tools Mastery gear, and the reason for this is that we can throw a kunai at the closest enemy after an assassination. That means that in some scenarios, you can actually kill 3 targets at the same time if you do a double assassination and then throw a kunai. And then for the trinket, we are using this legendary trinket. This gives us an additional 10% damage per unused ability slot. For the masteries, you want to make sure that you get to knowledge rank 2. All you have to do in order to get to this knowledge rank is do any of the orange activities that are on your map. Now I want to dive into masteries, and before I even get into what I use first, I want to let you guys know that you could reset your masteries at any point in time. It only resets the masteries for the page that you have selected, and you do that right here. For me, I press R and then I'm able to reset that mastery. I'm not going to spend any points in katana. I'm going to go through this just like I would if I was setting this build up from the beginning and progressing through getting all the skill points. We're going to go straight into assassin here first. We want to get in this second row. We want this one that's going to give us extra damage to each target. So with this, you can assassinate people with 2 health states. We then want to go into double assassination. That'll allow us to kill 2 enemies at the same time. Finally, in this tree, we're going to grab another health state to get us up to 3 health states all at once with this build. We're then going to move over to Shinobi. I highly recommend getting the grapple hook increased climbing speed. This is going to allow you to be more agile. If you're going to use the Tanto as your primary weapon or the weapon that you're fighting with, I recommend getting Vault because Tantos do a lot of damage to weak points, and the back happens to be a weak point. In tools, I just pick up the shuriken, and the only reason for that is that you can carry 10 shuriken all at the same time. And the only time I use the shuriken is when I want to destroy lights or hit explosives. Since you can have so many of them, it makes it very easy if you use those in that scenario. Another really good one, if you have the points to spend, is this larger tool bag so that you can carry 1 additional of each item. We're going to take a few items in Tanto. If you want to have some abilities active, you can use these abilities here, and I highly recommend having at least one. I would do the throw Tanto because I feel like that is super powerful. And remember, from the gear, you are entering combat with one adrenaline state, so you can open up your combat with this move. And then if you chose the jump behind the enemy in the shinobi line, you definitely want to increase the damage to the back with this one right here. If you're using the Kusarigama for your fights, you definitely want to grab Entanglement, and then I recommend the Big Catch as well. That's really all the points that you need to put in this build to really make it function, but you can use any additional points to enhance your character even further. If you decided to go with a katana as your main weapon, I highly recommend getting the Door Assassination. You can also increase your damage to vulnerable enemies by 2% under Assassin, and give yourself additional damage at night under Assassin. Going back to the shinobi line, I would then take the grab assassinate so that you can assassinate people after you grab them. The next thing that I would grab is the kunai assassination damage so that you could do 2 health states with a single kunai. That will allow you to kill more difficult enemies at range. And then, like I said, if you have the points, definitely put them into a larger tool bag so that you can carry more of this equipment. In order to complete engravings, you do have to level your forge up to level 2. You will need these resources in order to make that happen. For engravings, you can pretty much pick whatever engravings you want for every piece of item except for the headpiece. For the headpiece, you want to make sure that you choose one of the additional damage states when you assassinate a certain way. I personally like doing air assassinations, so I chose the air assassination state to give me the extra health damage. This allows me to assassinate targets with 3 health states from the ground and 4 health states if I do an air assassination. So far, I've only come across one enemy with more than 4 health states, and I can still do the air assassination on this target to reduce 4 health stats so that when I do get in open combat, he's got a lot less health that I have to chew through while fighting. Now, in order to keep this build as spoiler free as possible, in order to get the Tanto that I use in this build, you are going to need to follow the Golden Teppo questline, and on completion, you will get that Tanto. The second weapon that I'm using, if you decide to use it instead of a katana, is going to be received when you complete the Wada Korataki mission line. For the trinket, you need to go through one of the old coffins. This is in the starter area. You're going to be very close to this. I highly recommend doing it early on. It is pretty much a linear path to this area. I'm going to let this play through, but if you don't want to watch it, use the chapters to skip past going through this coffin.
Got it. Now to find the way out.
For those of you that don't want to follow along with a step-by-step guide on how to do this, you want to head to Katano for the chess piece. And then for the headpiece, you want to go to Takasuki Tenshu. Both of these locations are going to tell you that you need to defeat a number of samurai dasho. You can see the icon above their head there. Those are the enemies that you need to defeat in this area in order to be able to loot that chest. For those of you that are sticking around for the entire guide on where to go, we're going to start on Katano. This is going to give you the chess piece, and again, you have to defeat 2 samurai dasho in this area. The first one is right next to the fast travel location. And then the chest that we're going to loot is right in the castle. From the teleport location, we're just going to head over the edge here and down. We want to get on here, run across, get to this point, and then we're going to go down and assassinate him when he's in this location. We can then head right back up. Don't forget to loot him when you're done. And we're going to run along this wall. We will assassinate this guard here. And you can see the other samurai that we need to assassinate is right there. And we can just wait for him to walk by this area. But first, we will go ahead and assassinate this guy. And we can actually wait for him right over here. Now that we have both of them killed, we can head back and raid the chest. From the teleport spot at the top of the building, just enter through the rooftop.
Better to keep out of sight.
You can knock out or assassinate the lady that's at the top floor. We then want to assassinate this guy. Go ahead and collect this item that's here. We have one guy standing behind us that will wait for him to move and then grab him, knock out, or assassinate. Somehow we were too loud at this point in time and we alerted the guard that was inside the room. Go ahead and take him out and then loot his body and unlock the chest. Now for the final piece in our ultimate assassin gear, we are going to open the map and we are headed up to Takasuki. So I already have the fast travel unlocked. I'm going to go ahead and fast travel up there. Now, just like the other ones that we've interacted with, we need to kill these samurai daso. So if we wait for this guy, we are right next to the fast travel point. We can wait for him to come over to this side of the castle here. So we'll just head down and get prepared for him and wait for him to come around. There he is there. And we'll go ahead and assassinate him. And then we're just going to jump back up and leave this area. Now I'll show you the second location for the samurai that you have to kill. From the fast travel point, we are just going to go over the edge here. And we're headed to that wall that you can see there in the distance. So once you're on top of this wall, you're just going to follow it to the next location. Once you reach this point right here, you're going to want to head down and then over to this building. And that next samurai dasho is going to be right there. You can either assassinate him or throw a kunai at that barrel. From the location where we killed that last samurai, we can then head off this direction. And we want to get to the outer wall. Now that we're on the outer wall, we can just run down this way. We're going to continue to follow along this wall until we reach this point, and then we're going to take a right. We then have the next samurai dasho right there. And we can just wait for him to come across this firebomb right here. And there we go, we have killed the final samurai dasho that we needed to. The easiest way to get back to loot the chest is to simply lose aggro and jump back in the water. It says the chest is now lootable. We can then just fast travel back up to that location. Once you get to the fast travel spot, you're going to want to get off this side right here. Come across this and down. And there's a window that we can enter right here. Open one of the doors. There is a guard to execute or assassinate there. And then loot the chest. The last thing that I want to cover here is gear levels. As you can see, all the gear is at different levels, and it is at the level of when you acquire it. However, once you have the forge, you're able to upgrade these levels. Now, I don't recommend upgrading unless you're quite a few levels ahead of where you picked it up. 4 or 5 levels, somewhere around that, is where you should start upgrading your gear. And all you need to do is head to the forge in order to upgrade this gear. It uses some mon, which is the money in the game, as well as some resources like silk and other fabrics in order to upgrade these. But you can change the level all the way up to the level that you are at in order to upgrade it. So like I said, wait until it's a few levels behind before you upgrade. And it's totally possible that with the upgrade system, this gear could last you all the way to the end of your gameplay. I really enjoyed this style of play with Nawe, so this is how I'm going to try to continue throughout my entire gameplay. I'd like to thank all my YouTube members for your continued support. Y'all are absolute legends. Don't forget to whack the like button if you enjoyed the video and subscribe for more content. And if you don't want to be out of whack, there's another video on the screen right now that you can click to support more of my content.